Welcome to Journeys of Empowerment, where real stories, raw truth, and powerful shifts come to life. I'm Michiel Sujit Rijt, and around here, we don't do small talk. We spark transformation. Let's go! Still trying to fix performance with new processes, more training, or better KPIs? That's not the problem. Behavior is. Neutopia flips the script with a method that actually works. No gimmicks, no fluff. In the Awareness Workshop, you'll learn why good processes fail in execution, why learning doesn't stick, and how to build teams that own behavior, not just follow rules. Change shouldn't drain you, it should drive you. Dare to lead different? Visit neutopia.nl. Some stories don't just inspire you, they shift everything you thought you knew. In this episode, I sit down with Trishanka Smaal, a powerful voice of resilience, healing, and radical self-acceptance. Her journey, rising from the depths of abuse, violence, and rejection, shows what's possible when pain becomes purpose. We dive into the raw, the sacred, and the transformational, embracing identity beyond societal boxes, facing trauma, deep inner work, and self-love, breaking toxic family patterns, and honoring ancestry, discovering unconditional love, especially for oneself, and opening to spiritual growth through twin flames, shamanism, and energy work. One of the powerful truths still echoes with me. Healing begins when we dare to accept all parts of ourselves, even the ones we fear the most. This is a conversation that invites you to look within and reminds us, even in our most broken moments, we are still essential. Let's dive in. And now we're live in the studio, so we're recording. Welcome, Trishanka.
Well, thank you.
It was already a pleasant start. And the first question maybe I have after, of course, listeners already heard our brief introduction. You mentioned something interesting, and it says a lot about you. So to help people understand a little bit more about who you are, what do you specifically mean with Trishanka moment?
Well, Trishanka moment is, to me, it's a profound moment because once there was a moment in my life where where there is a fragment, and we always talk, well, all the people 20 years ago, 24 years ago, we had those Oprah moments. And to me, my Oprah moment was the day that I had decided that I didn't want to live anymore. So all the darkness in me since I was born till my 20s, it was all dark because the only thing I knew was violence, abuse, not belonging. I didn't belong anywhere. So I couldn't find that place in me and not even in the world. So that day that I decided, I sat in my room because I already was living on my own. And then I wanted to jump out of the building. And that moment, I thought, okay, I'm done with everything. And then I thought, okay, it's done. And I wanted to open the door to jump. And there was a moment in that, I always say it's a divine timing, that someone or something told me, you have to watch TV. And I thought, why am I going to watch TV? Because I'm in the moment of dying. I want to die because I'm done with it.
So something inside you
yes. I call it divine intervention. And
divine, divine intervention.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay.
I think we all have sometimes in our timeline or some moments in our lives where we think, I'm done with it. And there is a inner voice from somewhere who tells you it's going to be okay and you have to do something. And it can be an intervention where someone comes into your life, or it can be like this moment in specific for me when I was 20, that there was a voice in me. And I think that voice was always there with me, even when I was a child, when I was 3, when I saw my dad wanting to kill my mom, or the moments in when I was living in the orphanages where all the awful things happened, like abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, also sexual abuse. Then there was always a voice like, it will be okay. And that's what I called...
even then.
Even then. It's I don't know how to describe it, but that voice was always there with me. I don't know if people can relate to that, but always that voice. It will be okay. It will be okay. And when I was 20, and there was that moment in time where I thought, okay, it's all dark in my life. If I cannot find love in me or into the world, and if I cannot even see what is who I am, and I cannot find it into the world, and there is only violence and hate, and I don't belong anywhere, where do I belong? So I thought I didn't deserve to be alive. And I thought, okay, if that's the case, then I want to get out of it. So, and that time, that divine timing, I heard a voice in me, you have to watch TV. And I thought, no, I'm not going to watch TV. I'm done with it. I was struggling to open the door, but the door wasn't opening. And I knew the door was open. I mean, like, I know the door is, I know it was open. So I tried several times to open that door. And several times the voice, my divine timing moment, told me, you have to watch TV. So I thought after the third or the fourth time, okay, let me go and watch TV. And I put it on, and I don't even know which channel it was, but there it was, Oprah. And it was someone, this little guy, looking like a little guy, really looking like me. And it was a transgendered boy. So he told Oprah, I think I don't deserve to live. I think that I'm the only one. I think I'm sick, because, and this is the thing again, because I was very in church till my 15th, and most of the people told me I was sick and God is mad at you. So you have to pray. And when you pray, you'll get better. Well, I have prayed for months and I didn't get better in their eyes. So that moment to me with Oprah and that little kid, in that program, at that moment looking like me, and these magical words, he said, you're not sick, you belong, you're not the only one, and there are so many people like you, and they call it transgendered.
Wow.
And that moment for me was my pivotal point at that time in my life. It was my key element to grow, because all of a sudden I remembered the power of freedom of choice. Because
autonomy at best.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Can you remember how that made you feel? What was sort of the first feeling hearing that? The acknowledgement.
The acknowledgement, I think at first I was very sad. Because I thought, oh, wow. I had to live for 20 years to now to see that there are people like me, but also I think many people say it's like a sigh, like that thing.
A relief.
Yes. That I got from inside. And then I thought, okay, now it's me. Now it's my time. I have been coping with people for 20 years. I have been dancing with different pipes and colors, and I always thought I was dancing on offbeat. I never could understand the music that people were walking or dancing at. I thought, I do not fit in that drum beat, And in that moment I thought, oh, but maybe I am my own beat, and maybe that is the only thing I need to do. So in that moment, my Oprah moment, is that I decided, this never again. I'm going to do me. And I always stand up with a smile, because the smile does something physiologically with your body.
Yeah. Visceral and physiologically.
With your body, some internal body.
Yeah.
And
the whole central nervous system, everything is attached to it. Yeah.
So I stand up with a smile every day, and still I do it after now 24 years. And everybody tell me, why are you laughing that much? And I told them, I have a lot to live for. And I have a lot to be grateful for. That's why. And that's the moment that I want to give to people. So that is where it started creating the Trishanka moment.
Beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing. First of all, thank you for sharing. And we were already, rest assured, this is only the starting point of the deep dive of today. Holy. Thank you very much. And one of the things what pops up in my mind when you say the door kept closed is... In my imagination, I will say then, hey, universe is teaching or telling me something. What is it for you where you believe in and what you feel? I say I strongly believe in sort of, I even don't have any picture of it, but universe, for me, everyone and everybody and everything is already interconnected with each other. Mm-hmm. For me, that's an energy. It's about energy. It's about interconnectedness. And so my first initial thought was, hey, universe is teaching and telling you something. But it's my thought and where I believe in. What do you believe? What do you believe why the door kept closed, and is it the universe, or what do you believe in?
Well,
what was the voice? Who was the voice?
Well, after a lot of ceremonies, ayahuasca ceremonies, I did 5 ayahuasca ceremonies, and but that's what I call the divine intervention, because I believe in oneness, I believe in source, so I believe in multiverses. Because we don't have one life, we have it. That's why I told you there is like infinite possibilities, because we are unending beings, and I have, in that moment I didn't understand. I thought, okay, why do I should watch television? But I did, and I think it was 10 years later. 10 years later, I understood who it was and what it was. Because when you do Family Constellation, which now I am an expert on,
maybe first, sorry, so help us a little bit understand before we jump right away in, because I did a study about it and you are practicing it, but let's help each other to better understand, and also the listener.
To me, the Family Constellation opened a different dimension in my life. It gave me a lot of healing, and for me, Family Constellation is really, it's finding your place into this world, into your family, into whatever you do, into yourself. It's coming home, and it's also knowing where you're coming from, because your family tree is so important. You see the tree, the
tree of life. I was right away looking at it.
We're never complete when we do not know who we are, where we come from, and who our ancestors are. And sometimes you feel pain in yourself and you don't even understand, because you can do so much soul work, you can do so much work, but if you don't understand where you come from, where your roots lie, and even further, then you will start beginning to understand. And it's for everybody. To me, it opened a door in me, so much healing, and I could understand more of myself. I could understand more the pain my biological dad had. I could understand the pain that my mom had, but also, I think, ancestors before. I got to understand how Indian women were treated 7 generations ago, and maybe further than that. I knew, after walking that path of 7 generations before me, of my male line, my biological line, I understood that there were more transgenders in my life.
No.
Yes, there was a generation of transgendered men, but they never were allowed to speak. So I could understand my father's pain. I never talked to him because at my 30 he committed suicide. I had to see that before he wanted to kill my mother. But that's what Family Constellation to me is. It's deep healing on so many levels, and really to be rooted in life. And I got to understand there that there is literally no one on the face of this planet that can take your place away. Nobody. So we always belong because we got to choose our place on this earth. We chose to come on this planet. Nobody on this planet can tell you you do not belong. Those are uneducated people. So that is family constellation to me.
Wow. The next deep dive.
There is a lot of riddles.
There's a lot to unpack. And this, I hope it makes the listener as curious about you as it does to me. Because where does all this wisdom come from? And maybe a better question is, who is Trishanka right now? Or always have been?
Well, I think who I am right now is I cannot even describe the words, because as you already know, I'm practicing shamanism.
Yes.
And
what is shamanism?
And shamanism is how can I explain it best? I think everybody is a shaman by far, because that's our essence. That's how we are born into this world. And shamanism is, to me, is being one with, is that everything is one with you. The interconnectedness that you're talking about, that's shamanism, because you're one with everything. Everything is one with you, and you're always in harmony and in tune with everything. So that means you have respect and profound, deep gratitude for everything you have, for the friendships, for kindness that you can put into this world. The simplicity in everyday things, but also I think the unconditional love you can feel for everything that is. That to me is shamanism. Yes, and also that you have the power and you have the mastery in creating your own realities all the time, again and again. So you're walking this face of the earth.
We do that anyway. So we do that unconsciously until we become conscious. And then we can get better in creating our own construct and building our own life. And I truly
so you
believe
you have the power to create your own realities. So when people say, "Oh, this is not going well," then I say, "Yeah, then change it."
So you're a shaman.
Yeah.
You said you're a shaman, and what's your mission?
My life, and I wanted to tell you that my medicine name, as shamans have medicine names. My medicine name is White Sage Star, and White Sage Star, as I get to understand day by day what it means, is that at first it was the enlightened being, and after 2 years I got the message through from Source. You can call yourself White Sage Star now. I said, okay, what is that? What does it mean? And sages, I don't know if you know the history of sages. The sages are the people who have a lot of wisdom on different levels. In it doesn't matter what it is. It's like wisdom flows through you and knowledge flows through you. So I think what I'm here to do is I call it world peace. And I've already started 20 years ago by being me, being happy, trying to be happy then, but now I can fully say I am happy, and giving those people the Trishanka moments. Because the Trishanka moment is making the world better in small steps. Every day, wherever you come, you can give them kindness, you can give them a smile, you can have a good conversation with someone, or sometimes they need a gentle slap, because they need to wake up, So
whatever works and is needed at the moment.
Yeah. But I like good conversations with connection, deeper conversations. So I think that is how we build on world peace, because it starts with you always.
That sounds beautiful, and that helped me also understand that when we first met, that was very special. I do remember I was a little bit in a different world. I was a little bit partying hard at that moment. Let's keep it to there. And but I vividly remember our first moment. It was at Career at Work almost 2 years ago at the Amsterdam Toren in Amsterdam. And it was the first edition. It was really special. It was really, at the starting point of something becoming bigger and bigger. And I knew it's always in hindsight, it's always easy, of course, to say, yeah, we knew. But somewhere I knew this was only the beginning of a relationship, of a friendship, of well, at least I love to see it and experiencing it as a starting friendship. And I knew someday when I got the podcast equipment from my friend, there was like, I had a short list, and one of the names for then already, that was in October, but I was like, nah, but I'm not ready enough, because when you have Trishanka in the podcast, you need to be, and that's not need to be, but it's about allowing each other to have the space to be who we are and having a genuine flowing conversation. I was like, okay, I'm not there right now, so let's keep moving forward. And I'm so glad that the moment is today. And what is very interesting is that is to understand what led you to the path, what happened in your life to reach to the point at 20 to almost commit suicide. What were the life-defining moments that ultimately led you to that path? I think it's beautiful to share, and you are willing to, so already thank you so much, because it's a vulnerable, open path. So what led you to that path? Let's start with where shall we begin? Let's start just with the beginning.
I thought, well, then I'm going to begin right from the start, because my mother, I think it started with her, of course. I think she was so young. I think she was 17, and she got, how do you say that, arranged marriage to my biological dad. Mm-hmm. He was an older man. And I think later on we discovered that he was a refugee from Guyana, British Guyana. And but he was a boatsman. He was, how you call it, he was the captain of a boat, and he was a fisherman. Yes. So he had he had money for that time. So my grandfather arranged her marriage to him. I think my mom was so scared because I saw the picture. And I think a year later, my mother, she became pregnant of me. And I think it started there with the fear of my mom and my dad abusing her all the time, like really physical abusing her, hitting her all the time. So the moment that I got to see the light into this world, my mother was so proud because she really protected me with everything in her belly. And upon that moment that she had to give birth to me, it was a moment that she almost lost her life because she had to run from my father. And she had this dog, and that dog protected her all the time. So she ran away, and she jumped into this gutter and under the bridge. And she had to be so silent that my dad couldn't find her. And the dog was near her, and the dog was also so quiet. So I think about that voice, it was already there in the form of the dog. But then I got to see the light into this world, and my mom was so proud. And she said to my grandmother, "Oh, look, my prince has been born." And my grandmother looked at her, and she was so happy. But my grandmother instantly told her, "It should have been a girl." And I think my grandmother already knew my soul. So, and then I think life came there, and it never stopped. The physical abuse, the alcohol, everything. And I think when I was
also towards, sorry to interrupt, but also towards you or towards your mother?
It was always towards my mom. But I think, I don't know if I have like memories of that, but I knew that my sister was born, and she was 2, and she was on my mother's breast feeding, and I was 3. And I still see that picture of my dad into the window and like sharpening his machete, a big knife. I don't know how to call it, but it's machete. Yes. And we all were thinking he was going to work. and in some extent what I could ever replicate. How do you say that? How I can remember. And then all of a sudden he made this movement to my mother, and my mother, her neck, her hands, all like she dropped instantly on the floor, and I thought she was dead. So in her blood, I ran away immediately because I thought I'm not safe.
How old were you then?
I was 3.
Oh.
Yes, and I still remember that moment. I ran away, and I thought, okay, now I don't have anyone, because later on I learned that my dad committed suicide by poisoning himself, and he was instantly dead. And I still, until this day, I don't even know the name of my father. I do not know anything. We didn't have any documents of him. So my mother, we didn't even know if she could survive, but she did. The 24 hours were critical. But also in that moment, I think in that time when in an Indian family this happens, there is a lot of shame into this family. And my mom couldn't even go back to the family. And she couldn't even take care of us. So what happened is that my sister and I, we had to live in orphanages. Mm-hmm. And I think we saw like 4 orphanages off and on. But
in a time frame of?
In a time frame of 5 to 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or maybe 7 years, I think. It's a horror. The thing is, like, when you're so young, it's also your brain and all the now I got to know like how you're being formed into this life. So I think all these orphanages were horrible because they were doing on, I think also the abuse happened. We were neglected a lot. I had a lot of lice in my head, and like up until the moment that I saw people having like really holes in their like head. I think if you would comb my hair, you would have colonies of lice on my head. We were so neglected. And with food, there wasn't always food. So we had to share, but also like I had to drink like liters of milk. I don't know why. I had to like kneel on the floor, but there was like schelpen. I don't know how you call it.
Yeah.
And I had for years, I had infections on my knees and my ankles. And I think the most frightening thing for me was that I had to, on midnight, I had to stand in the middle of a cemetery. So that was so horrific. So I peed a lot in bed of fear.
Just a second, Trishanka, sorry. I normally never do that, but it's now getting louder and louder outside. There's a sort of war zone here in the house, so I'm going to put it on pause. So we're back. Normally we never do that, an interruption, or this is also maybe good to share with the listeners. Every conversation is 100% non-edited. The reason why that is because we strongly believe at Journeys of Empowerment that in authenticity and the depth of the conversation, and when you cut and paste to make it shorter or whatever, you also cut and paste the authenticity out of the conversation. So I never mentioned it. Maybe it's good to understand why we do that, but it's for the authenticity and the flow. So the reason why I put ourselves on pause is that the sewer get removed in the total street with big bulldozers driving around with it's huge, and the whole house is sort of vibrating, and sometimes the sound gets so distracted. So I have now wooden panels pushed against the windows, so to keep as much as possible the sound out of it. So Trishanka, sorry to interrupt, okay. But it was really getting distracted, and I was like, okay, we have to do this. Let's further deep dive.
Yeah. So the moment is, I had like this several orphanages, and
yes.
It was horrible because there were always like fear, and I think my moment there in the middle of the cemetery where I think I froze. I just froze. I couldn't do anything anymore, and I think also like in my adult life, I never wanted to go to burials when people died or something like that, because I froze. And people didn't even understand. They got mad. But later on, I understood like, oh, but this is my fear. That.
Your fear for
Death.
death.
Yeah. Because when you're afraid of death, then I think you're in fear of everything. And I think now I'm not afraid of dying because I had to die many times to become. So, that. And what brought me to the moment, like when I was 20, is like I had all these events because I also believe in the power of prayers, mantras and stuff like that. And at that time, I was Roman Catholic because the last orphanage that I had to live with my sister, I think that was the best one ever because it was a Dutch one in Groningen. In Groningen,
of all places.
Suriname, Groningen, because it was a colony of Holland. And so
it was really in Suriname?
It was in Suriname,
but
yes.
It's called Groningen.
It's called Groningen. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's interesting.
You know that
I never knew that.
Suriname has been colonized by Holland, and the thing is like we have a lot of places that has like really names from here, from Holland, and so it was in Groningen, and I'm so happy that I could go back with my dad, with my bonus dad, because all the things that happened to me, the abuse, the sexual abuse, and the physical abuse, I was praying every day because we learned to pray as children at the school because it was a Roman Catholic school.
Yes.
So I was praying every day, like, who is going to come and save us? Who is coming to come and save us? And the moment, I think it was 5 years later, I was 8, and my mother, she met my bonus dad.
Yes.
And it was instant love. It's like, there was like connection for always. And I knew the moment that I saw him, like, okay, my prayers has been answered. And this is the thing also, like he married my mother because he couldn't visit us because he wasn't our biological father. And he was so horrified of the things because I think the moment he came into my life, I had 1 month to live because I was eaten by worms, different kind of worms. And I was so thin and that I couldn't even like hold a cup of tea. I would drop, and so he took us out of the orphanage and he medicated us. He gave us food, so we could. And even still then we weren't even used to family life. So I think we were like savages because we had food. And I remember that my sister was like throwing food out of the window to see if, we could eat it later or put some food away. And
stash it.
Yeah, because we didn't know if we had food the next day. And I think I had problems with being at home because I was constantly, how do you say that? I was so rebellious because I didn't understand. And but I thought really that it was the best moment, but until we discovered that my bonus dad was addicted to alcohol, hard drugs. And but there in that moment, I also got to experience how it is to live in different hells and which one is better than the other one. Because I would rather be there at home, not being abused, not being physically abused, emotionally abused, and sexually abused. I belonged somewhere, but still it wasn't ideal because I saw my dad abusing my mother physically, emotionally, and us not being safe as well because we were moving around all the time, and so I couldn't root anywhere.
No.
So and there I thought, and what I also didn't mention is that before my mother met my biological dad, is that we got also in the weekends we had to go back home. But where was home to us? And home to us was back in the bush, where my grandmother lived. And it was a small house, small wooden house, a community, 40 people living there.
But it was home.
It was home to us because my grandmother lived there.
Yeah.
But the horrors didn't stop because all the nieces and nephews were abused sexually by uncles. So to me, it was safe because my grandmother was living there and she took care of us. She gave us love. But on the other hand, we weren't safe because we got to get abused by our uncles. So when my dad met my mom, my whole image of life was, okay, it's normal that people get abused. It's normal that people get hit. It's normal to have violence all the time. But still something in me told, like, okay, this isn't it. But if you see that all the time, so it's normal.
World, it's your environment is very determining how you build up your worldview, right?
Yes. And I also got to experience how my aunts get hit by my uncles and nobody did anything. So you had to sit down and see nobody did anything. Nobody helped the women. Nobody did anything. And if there was a moment in my life that my mother and my father told us, like, we're going to leave Suriname for a better life. We're going to Holland. That was to me like music in my ears, because I thought, if all this pain that I have, because, in Suriname, a lot of things happened, and to me, it wasn't home to me anymore, because I thought I need to be somewhere else. Because I couldn't fit in at school. I was so scared. And the other thing that came up, because I knew at my when I was in my third age, when all that things happened, I knew my soul that I wasn't a boy. I already knew that I'm a woman, but you cannot share. I was very feminine. So everywhere where I was, I couldn't fit in. I couldn't play with the girls. I couldn't play with the boys. I never fitted in. So at school, I was always on myself, because people got to really bully me all the time. Calling me names and everything. So when I was 15, my dad told my mom, like, we're going to move to Holland for a better life. It was music in my ears. I thought, this moment, I'm going to think everything. I'm going to change my life the way I want it, and I'm going to get everything out of it, because this is my second chance in life. Or maybe it was my third or fourth or fifth, I don't know.
Yeah, but it was a chance.
It was a chance. Yeah. And I knew right then, at the 15th, I knew, okay, I'm going to take everything out of this bucket. It is mine. So the moment, at first I came with my dad and my sister, and then we came here. It was rough, because we had to live in Florijn then, because it was in Amsterdam, Belmer, Zuidoost. In that time, it was very rough, because there were a lot of drug addicts there. There was a lot of crime. I had to experience a lot of things there, like, for instance, when you're taking the escalators upstairs, like literally someone killing someone in front of your eyes. And I thought, what the hell is happening here?
In what years that was?
That was in 1996.
Yeah, that was, just 4 years after the whole big plane flew into one of the big flats.
Yeah. I remember that, and but all those things add up to me, and then I thought, okay, life is going to be different in Holland, but it wasn't, because I still got bullied, I still got spit at, I still got all the things went through, and then I learned, like, okay, you can change the scenery, you can change the place, but you cannot change the traumas, you cannot change the environment, because it was still an abusive environment. So if you think you're going to run away from it, or no, you have to start healing always. But that was after my 20s. So everything that I was seeing into the world was darkness, negativity.
Loneliness also, I guess.
Oh, yeah. It was very lonely, because I couldn't even talk to people.
No. As a child, not playing. Not playing with the girls, not playing with the boys. And the only thing what's popping up multiple times in my head, or not the only thing, but one of the things which profoundly pops up is the sense of loneliness, right?
And I think that I got to be my best friend at that point, because I had I had a very, very, very rich internal world. So I escaped into my internal world. I was very quiet. I couldn't connect with anybody. I didn't have friends.
Well, that changed. Luckily. You were born, in my opinion, you're a born connector.
Yeah, I am a born connector, really, because it goes automatically. But I had to disconnect of everything. And I think I was dead from inside. And I couldn't connect with nobody. So at my 20s, and the thing is, like, I was 15 till my 5th. I think when I was 18, I started living on my own because I couldn't handle it at home anymore. I started to see me. I started to think of me, like, okay, what happened in my life? So everything was designed for me up until then. But now I get to think of me. I get to think, like, okay, what happened in my life? And that was horrible because I think, wow, what is happening? And then I think the big punch is when I was 20, my grandmother died because to me she was the only thing in life that was my safety then. So I lost that, and at that point I also was figuring myself out. Like I had like infatuations for like these guys, you know. And they thought like, oh, I'm not gay, so why are you falling in love with me? So I thought, but seriously, I'm a woman, you know, but you look like a boy. And so after being like punched in your face all the time and really not being safe and like literally being rejected all the time, also in all the levels of love, then I thought, really, I'm not deserving of to be loved. I'm not deserving to be alive. I knew that someone told me, I don't know where it was in time, like, you're not deserving to be alive. You should be grateful that you are breathing.
Someone said it.
Yeah, someone said it. I don't know when it was, but
not
I remember
imaginary
that.
to yourself.
No, someone really told it to me because they knew that I'm a transgendered person and I was very feminine.
I need an address. I need a name.
I don't even remember who it was.
Lucky.
But I always send them love because I think they always was in need of love. So I always send them love, you know. And then I got to internalize it like, okay, the only right that I have is the right to breathe. So I got in service of others. So I always did something for people to be acknowledged, to be seen, to be heard. And I recognize this until today that people are doing this, but that is not genuine giving, you know. But
it's
after
trying to deserve, to feel deserved, that you deserve.
Yeah. But also what you do is building up guilt with people because you're not giving unconditionally. So when you think that you're helping people because you need that for your own, you're always binding people to you, and that's not fair to others. That's what I learned. So I was helping people, but I was helping people out of suffering.
Yes.
I was helping people out of victimhood. What I didn't see is I was victimizing people also because I wanted to be needy. I wanted to be needed. So I had to see for myself like, hey, I'm helping people, but I'm not really helping them because I want them to be codependent on me. So all those things in that combination led to the point that I didn't want to live anymore when I was 20. Because of the emptiness, the loneliness, the darkness, and really feeling not to belong, but also like that I wasn't deserving to be alive, that I wasn't deserving to receive love. I never felt that I was loved. And that is what we also say in shamanism, is like a child who hasn't felt the love, it will burn down villages to feel its warmth. So that's what I was doing.
We're still here, listener. Sorry, but I'm taking my moment to let it sink in a bit. And what I just said 10 minutes ago is that we don't edit. So this will be in the episode. Sorry for that, not sorry for that. That is deep. And there is so much suffering what I hear, and I can imagine sometimes we think, out of shame or out of whatever, this must be me and it must be my own life, and we feel very lonely because talking about these profound, deep, there's I think partly shame, partly guilt, partly whatever, but we keep it too long also to us. What helped you in terms of healing and the inner work? Because I can only try to imagine this is a journey in and of on itself, right? A healing journey. Because when you can say coming home to self, that's easier said than done.
Yes.
And what helps you in the inner work,
I think it happens in stages, and I also feel that when it happens in stages, but it never goes away.
No,
because circumstances, places can always bring you back to those places.
Trigger you.
The triggers and stuff like that.
It's always a work in progress.
Yes.
Sort of.
Yeah. And I tend to, because this happened like a few days ago, where I see if places are toxic, then it brings me back to those places where I rather don't want to be.
No.
But then I get to get mean, and I always say, like, okay, the demon in me and the dragon in me is rising again, and then I get mean. And then I thought, whoa, wait.
What's happening here?
This is not me. And then I regroup myself on, okay, what is happening here? Okay, this is a toxic place. This is what it does to me, but I am safe.
Yeah, but this is training. This is learning. This is this space where we're talking about between
takes
stimulus
years.
and response.
Yeah,
it's so easy and so fast explained, and it took a lot of work.
So I will deep dive into it,
please.
Because you get to self-regulate yourself, and I don't think that we learn that much.
No,
I think that should be taught at school, at home, like how we regulate, and that it's normal to be mad, and that it's normal to have emotions, and it's normal to cry, that stuff. But my healing started. I think at the moment, and I think it goes in stages of awareness and consciousness, because what did I knew when I was 20? I knew that I wanted to change my life in that moment, and how was I going to change? I started to see, okay, what do I like? But I was in an identity crisis, because I thought, like, what woman would I want to be? Because I chose at that moment the moment that I saw, like, okay, I'm a transgendered person, so I have the right now to be me. So I get to explore, like, okay, I think the next day I called the hospital. Like, I know who I am, I want to go, but then they said you have to call your huisarts.
Yeah.
Your
GP.
Yeah, my GP, and I had to, like, you have to have a certificate, like, okay, she's ripe enough to go to the hospital. So I got it, like, instantly, because my saving was that when I was 15, I already got my breast grew. So I already was so feminine that even in the hospital they thought, you're on the hormones. And I thought,
you weren't on the hormones,
no.
And your breasts were grown.
Yeah, I was very feminine. So
beautiful, right?
I was like happy, like, well, Princess and the Earth.
Oh, it's Princess and the Frog, right?
Yeah,
it's not the Princess on the Earth. on the P.
It's like, wow, and but I saw it as a compliment that they told me, like, okay, I said, I don't know how the pills look like, but this is how I am. So that was also a healing journey. But the thing is, like, it went to stages for me. It's the first 10 years in those from my 20 that I chose, like, okay, I'm going to stand up with a smile. I'm going to change. I'm going to transform who I really am. And then I was already working. And I was working at this company for 20 years, not then, but I started there. And how beautiful it is that you can grow up somewhere. So it was really the first day I started there, I got my hormones. And I have worked there for 20 years. So the healing journey took me 20 years. But the first 10 years, I thought I was healing, I was doing the best work. But actually, I was surviving.
But what do you mean with work? Because I think listeners are very curious.
Yeah.
What do you mean by the work? What were you doing at that moment which made you start having the feeling that you did the work?
Yeah. The work is in different things. Like the work was really actually working for your money.
Yes.
So I started in a customer services in this company where I was for 20 years. Learning my communication skills. But the other work is really going to take my treatment at the hospital, getting to know myself, taking the hormone pills. I had to live for 6 months. They call it a crossing passage time. I don't know how to call it in Dutch. But you had to wear like women clothing for 6 months.
Sort of notice period to make sure that you are
that
on
you're
the path
serious.
that you want to persevere. All right, persevere to go
through the whole process. Because it's not changeable.
No.
You cannot reverse it.
No.
And but also in that time it was seen like being sick, because in all the medical stuff you see that it's a gender dysphoria.
This is the second time that you say feel sick, because when you were young, you were seen and almost stigmatized as you are being sick.
Yes,
and you have to pray.
Yeah,
and now again in the medical description, you are sick.
Yeah, because it is like they call it gender dysphoria, and also there was a code for it. But I said, hey, if it brings me to where I need to be, I will be. So I went to the whole process. That was the healing journey also, like becoming me is also the process of taking the hormones, going to the laser appointments, like hair removal. It was so painful everywhere. Yeah. Burned severely. And also in those 10 years, I started to make career. So it's like when you live in the bush, you always see the opportunities. You get like a sixth sense. All your senses are developed, because you have to be, how do you call it, on point in seeing like, okay, what happens? Where's the danger?
Yeah, but that's your superpower. Just a second. That's your one of your superpowers is that you see possibility in
everywhere.
In a situation where you can easily feel stuck.
Yeah.
And feel there is not a slightly there is not any chance for me to survive or to cope or whatever. But in those kind of moments, you observe and you see always.
I always see the path to a solution. I always see the path of solution of possibility immediately.
So let's acknowledge a little bit and please receive it as a superpower, because
thank you. I take it.
It's easier to see what's not there than to see a slight possibility into that's beautiful, into the in a lot of darkness.
So what I was doing is that I saw all the possibilities at work, because it was very busy, and so I got to take the phone for a lot of people, and I said, hey, I'm seeing that you're busy and I'm not busy. So I was so good at doing the things fast, learning fast. So I didn't go to school. I don't have any papers, because I was busy with becoming me.
Yes.
And this is what they told me, like, okay, you have to stop working and you have to stop to go to school, because you won't be able to do it when I was starting with my hormones. So I stopped with school, but I couldn't stop at work, because
No, finances.
I had a house,
course.
you know, I had to do things. So, and at that point, the insurance weren't ready to pay for your laser and stuff like that. So I had to pay for all that stuff. So I had like 4 jobs.
Shitload of bills, right?
Yeah, a lot of bills.
Piling up.
Working paycheck to paycheck. So my healing was really into the work, you know, literally working, becoming myself. So seeing what kind of woman I wanted to be. And they had focus groups for transgender people, but I came there and it was very extreme. So I thought, no, this is not me. So I started seeing like, okay, who am I then as a woman? So I started really clothing hideously, like different colors and braiding my hair. Like it was so painful. I had like this African braids in my hair and I had like these wounds on my head. But I didn't care because I wanted to be feminine. Yeah. And I had like nails like popping like witches. Very long nails and doing my eyebrows and stuff like that. But I thought like, who are you? You know?
Figuring out, trying to find out what clicks.
In. I was like calibrating all the time. Like, is this the woman I am? Is that? And people were laughing all the time and I didn't care, you know? And it was very painful because you wanted to be seen as this woman, but people knew, and they were always like looking at your hands and your feet because at that time, what it did to me, because now that's why I'm walking on barefoot all the time. I was wearing shoes that was like always 1 or 2 sizes smaller. Because people was looking at your feet and your hands and they say, oh, look, it's a guy, you know? So what happened to my feet, on my left feet, it like got pressed back, and what happened is like the it's like the footbed. I don't know how you call it.
Yeah, your sole.
Yeah, the sole of your foot. You know, it got so suppressed back. That now I have a condition that I can't wear shoes for a long time, and I couldn't even wear my heels anymore. And I love heels, but I cannot wear heels anymore. The things you do to become yourself. And so when they couldn't figure out anymore that my feet weren't too big and my hands were too big and I was very feminine, the point where it changed for me, and that was my biggest healing in that moment after the working and, you know, like really working on your career, because I learned to work hard. My people back in Suriname, where I grew up, my family, we are farmers. And, you know, farmers, they work hard.
Yes.
We have to work from season to season because you cannot have enough. So that mentality, I think it's a good one for your work ethic, by the way, to be very consistent and not everything because you think you don't have enough. But it had me this work ethic that I always on time, doing the work, working hard. It brought me to places. It really gave me my promotions. And the other stuff was really becoming me. And I think the most powerful moment, because I don't know if people really recognize this, is when you're going through so much stuff, is that every day when you wake up, it's like you have to get to wear an armor. You have to arm yourself with a lot of things, with I think a lot of packing. And I think the first time in my life I started getting fat because my body thought it has to protect me. So I gained 50 kilos. So I had to get my armors on. And my armors was literally, my body began to grow. Because I didn't know if someone could hit me at that day. I don't know if I could spit at. I don't know if someone could bully me at that time. But the most powerful moment was when I started working at McDonald's, because I already mentioned that I had 4 or 5 jobs. I worked like 80, maybe 100 hours a week. Because I had to pay for makeup, for new clothing, for laser hair removal, also the bills, and the bills were piling up. You know,
for the whole transformation
everything,
process, right? Wow.
Because there weren't insurances yet at that point. It, like 10 years later, it came.
That's also interesting. You mentioned on the one hand, there was something written that you were sick. Yeah. And on the other hand, you weren't insured to cure.
No.
And to transform.
No, because everything was male-oriented. Because I had to be registered as a woman, that I had to get back, that I could get refunded for my hair removals, for my face and the genitals, by the way. And but I had to pay for that. So I had to save up money all the time. And I was literally in debt in so much ways because I dropped school. I had debt for school. At that point, I thought I wasn't good enough, so I bought new phones all the time. So I had a lot of waste, and I had a lot of debt because of that. So I worked like 80 to 100 hours a week. I didn't even know how I did that, but I did it. But I knew that I wanted to get out of it.
May I ask one question before we go deeper and further? Because this morning I had a short conversation with a friend of mine, Kareem Al Otifi, and he shared a beautiful question with me, and we are already on our path answering that question, which isn't even asked, but I would love to honor him and also share the question is, how do you navigate the authenticity and transgender identity in a world dominated by cisgender dominant logic? And we are already on the path to answer it, but I would love to move further and also answer this, because it's not an easy path, right? It's an internal path. Yeah. It's an outer world path.
Yeah. And thank you for that question. It's a deep and strong and profound question.
Yeah, that's Kareem, and that's my friend, and I love him.
That's a very powerful question.
Yeah,
thank you, Kareem.
Yeah,
love you for that. Love you for that.
So sorry, not sorry, but let's keep that one also in mind to help us understand what the whole path means.
Yeah, and I think also what I forgot to mention is like when you're on the hormones, it's like you're getting into puberty several times, because it's really literally growing from inside and going back, like how it feels to be a girl, then going back to your teens and then growing up, until when I have the operation, the surgery. It was literally going through several stages of puberty and growing up. And I'm so blessed that I got to take me 20 years in my transformations, because normally the procedure is 2 years. But it took me 20 years of healing, of becoming. So the first 10 years, I focused on working. I focused on career-wise. I focused on transforming, like going through the process of becoming woman, really hormones and doing the technical stuff. And there was a moment in my there was a different moment, because in that 10 years there was something else happened in my life, because my parents got to be divorced. And it didn't do so much with me, but I have also 3 younger sisters. And my youngest sister, when my parents got divorced, she was the one who got the hardest punch, because she thought it was her fault.
Oh, wow.
And what did she get to do is she got to self-mutilize herself, cutting herself, wanting to die. And I remembered the other stuff is like I told you, like in that 10 years of healing, like I was focused on career, on job, on ambition. I worked so much that I had a lot of body pains. But still I got up, because I knew I had a dream. I was literally sleeping in sofas of friends. I didn't have a home. I went back for a year to my parents' house. It's never the same, because you grew up and you coming back to your parents, and it doesn't feel right. It was for a year. So I worked so hard to get a mortgage. And at the first time in my life, I got to be free, and I bought my house.
Wow.
And I was in my, I think, 25, 26.
What a feeling, right?
Wow.
Wow.
I thought that was freedom. That was freedom. But that's all material stuff, because what I'm telling you right now is that first 10 years, I got to heal, but the healing was only material. Got the work, got the house, the point where my sister, because I don't know how they call it in English, jeugdzorg.
Yes, child institutions.
Yes, they called me. I was at work. And they told me, do you want to take your sister in your house? Because she tried to commit suicide. And I thought, wow. I thought, like, this is happening again. Now, do you understand why I started doing Family Constellation?
Yes.
Because of the patterns occurring time, generationally, because it's happened to my mother, it happened to me, it happened to my sister. So I thought, okay, this needs to stop. So I told them, like, I already told my sister to come and live with me because I already saw that it wasn't going well. But then at that time, she thought I was too streng. Yeah, because at that point, I was like, you need to work hard, you need to go to school, because that is how I was programmed.
Yeah, it sounds demanding, but it comes from a good heart, and it comes from a good place. But I can imagine for someone who's in a different stage of life and a different mindset at that moment and state of mind, of course.
Yeah, I got to be a mom because that is what I always wanted to be. I got to be a mom of my sister, which is very difficult, I can tell you. How can you be a sister and a mom in one thing?
That's interesting.
And also, how can you give someone love that you don't even feel love for yourself? I took her at home, and I discovered that she was cutting herself. I discovered that she didn't go to school for like a year or maybe a year and a half. And she always was, and she also was hurting. She already was tainted because I got to learn that she also was sexually abused by a friend of my aunt because she got to sleep over. Predators are everywhere, even in safe houses. And I immediately took her very serious because she talked to my parents about it. They didn't want to believe her. I knew because I talked to my mother about my abuse. She didn't want to believe me. But I believed her immediately. So I thought, okay, we're going to do this. And in that point, I didn't know what love was, but I gave her everything I had in me. 7 years of my life I gave to my sister. I gained weight, 50 kg. I was busy with my own identity, but I was taking care of a child at home. It wasn't easy. I gave everything. She was under influence of a lover boy. I had to go to school, and she was so afraid that I would discover that she was under influence of a lover boy. I went to school. I passed her at school. We studied together. She passed. I gave her so much love that we had that talk at school that she was under an influence of a lover boy. I don't know how I did it, but she was safe at home. And she took, how do you say that? At some point, she ended that relationship with the lover boy. And nothing happened, thank God. Really. And there was a moment that I couldn't handle it anymore because I was struggling with my own pain.
Of course.
Because I thought I was living it. I was working full time. I was making career. I was taking care of a kid. I was a mom. Wow, my ego was well fed because I thought, yes, I'm on top of the world. But then I got the news that I had heavy diabetes, type 2. I also got the news from the hospital that I wasn't getting my surgery because I needed to be under 100 kg and I was weighing 140.
14 or 40?
40. 140. So that was heavy. And then I had to make the choice to put my sister away from my house. So she had to go to live for 1 year in 16 plus, they call it here. And she came back pregnant home in that year. My parents didn't open the door for her. Nobody wanted her at home. And there I was again, a year later. Because I know she's my baby sister, I took her in home. Again, I took her in home and I started taking care of her, the pregnancy. And she was also mentally ill. She had psychosis.
Yes.
3 times during her pregnancy. She wanted to...
During the pregnancy?
Yeah, she wanted to abort. And still she chose to have the baby. I supported it all the way through the pregnancy. And when Jairo was born, Jairo,
yeah,
it's a
Jairo, yeah.
Jairo, but
yes.
we call him Jairo. But I know it's Jairo. And that was the moment, and I'm getting so emotional. I took 6 weeks off from work because I want my sister to feel how it is to be a mother and how to be carried, how to be cherished, how to be supported. But also for Jairo to be welcome at a home. Because I know the first time I hold him in my head in the hospital, I felt this love. And I thought, wow, is this love? The first time I felt love in my life. And I thought, wow, but this is the love I needed to feel from me.
Unconditionally.
There is where I met the love of this soul, this being, and feeling this warmth in my body. And I thought, oh, but I'm going to protect you with everything in me. So I think when you see this miracle happening in front of you, and I thought, oh, but I need to feel this love for me too.
Oh, wow.
But that was my biggest healing in that moment. That love that you can experience for a child, and I don't know if people have recognized that. He wasn't even mine. I didn't even give birth to him, but he was my child. He is my child still. And I had 2 children at home. So I did the work again. I was working full-time, take care of 2 kids at home, being fat, being restless. But I got my healing moments when Jairo came home and my sister was afraid to take care of him because he was very small. He was born with, I think, 7 months, 8 months almost. He was so small. And I had to bathe him in my Tupperware box, like this small Tupperware box. Bathe him in it. And my most healing moments were when I got from work. And I could hold him on my breasts. And we could breathe together. That bonding moment.
Yeah.
It was so, so, so amazing. I get to be a mother a second time. And a grandmother, because he called me grandmother till I think he was 3 years. And he couldn't understand why he had to call my mother grandmother. He was so in grief and he was so in pain. And we got to tell him, this is your mom, this is your grandmother, and I'm always this special person in your life because we are bound forever. So, to me, that was the connection I made with love when he was born. And it's now 13 years later. He's now 13 years and he's very much struggling because he too had to experience how it is to have a parents who are violent, because my sister's ex was very violent. He almost choked her to death. I felt it, and I heard this screaming in my balcony, And what is that? I thought it was the neighbors. But something told me, go and see. I opened the door and I saw him choking her. So I took him off her. But Jairo felt that too, because he was like a few months. And she ran away from home, and I had this baby at home. So he didn't get... And this is, again, family constellation. It happens generations after generations. He got to experience his mother's pain. He got to experience all the traumas. So he got also violent as a baby. He began to bite. He began to hit. But I was his safe place. And I knew that. But I think like all the things that he had experienced, when he was 3.5, I had to make the most difficult choice as a person, as a being, because I think I was dying. I was 35 and my body was failing. I weighed 140. I was very tired and I had this diabetes. It's like I couldn't even move anymore. And but I thought I had to choose me now. I was 35 and I had to choose me. And also all the other things happened as well, like being transgendered. I will come to that question, but this was so important to mention, like the different kinds of love that you can experience in life, and who also heals you. And then there was the moment there that I was having these fights with my sister because she got jealous of the relationship I had with my nephew, with Jairo.
To make things even more complicated, right?
For him also.
Yeah.
And he had these body pains and the doctors couldn't even like see what was happening. But I knew, because I knew the pain was because his system was feeling unsafe. That is something you cannot see in the doctor's eyes. But my sister got angry and I told her, okay, but I think you're old and wise enough to figure your own stuff out. So you have to go. But where did she have to go?
Yeah.
At some point she got in Leger des Heils. And then her path began. But this little soul, he was so in grief. He told me once, Grandma, why did you send me away? Wow. And my heart stopped. Really. And I told him I didn't send you away. It was your mother that I sent away because she needed to grow. And I had to do that because sometimes you really need to let go of people because you're blocking their growth. I was blocking her growth because I was there all the time, solving the problem all the time.
Fixing.
All the time. So I had to let her go to have her own healing path, becoming stronger on her own. And then my path of healing began because I thought the first 15 years I was healing. No. It was, it's like it brought me at some place because I was getting the hormones, I was changing, I get it to know better to me. And then I got my career, I got from the customer service to the back office. I became the senior, I became the coordinator. And then it stopped at 35. I had to change again. I had to die again. And that moment there was a split second of a moment that I thought, okay, I want to die. And then I thought, no. I got wiser in those 15 years. I don't want to die because things get hard. And when things get hard, you want to walk away because that's what you saw with your father. And then you want to die because that also you get to notice and to see how your dad died. This is how the conversation I had with me. I was 35. My sister gone from house, and now I was alone. I had to think again for me, who do I want to be? And who am I? And there is, again, a different intervention again. Michael Pilarczyk. I heard his voice somewhere in a podcast. And this is what helped me. He has a visualization, and the visualization was about visualizing your best life.
Yes.
And these words he said, when you dare to follow your heart, and the universe will, how do you say it in English? It will beloan you.
Yes, it will reward you.
It will reward you.
Yes.
And I now I know it will send a lot of abundance to you. So at that point, I started really following my heart. And I wanted to make the next step at work. I wanted to become a manager. And I had this talk with my manager then, René. I know he knows. Because that was also a divine intervention. I told him, like, why is it that I cannot become this manager? Because I know everything. Nobody can work around me. I know everything. And he told me, you know what it is? You're scary.
Sorry?
You're scary.
Okay.
He said, your communication is violent. Nobody can talk you over. And I knew what he was meaning. I knew. Because I was this woman fighting all the time, fighting for my place, fighting for becoming me, fighting for my place in this world. I had to constantly to let people see that I was enough.
So it landed.
It landed. He was the intervention I needed. He told me, like, if you want to become a manager, you need to cooperate with people. You need to communicate better. You need
Don't
to
scare
work
them
with
off.
because I was very, very scary in my conversations.
Yes.
That. And he said, but I think he saw something in me because he was like the 20th manager we had. And he has also had ambitions. So he said, you listen to me. You're the next manager here. And he talked with the senior management. And her name is Ingrid, because I want to honor her too. Ingrid. René talked to Ingrid. And he came to me. He said, we're going to give you a chance. 1 year. You get 1 year to supervise your own team. The same team where I was working for 10 years.
Oh, that's interesting. Being one of them, and all of a sudden
then,
you are the team manager. It's an interesting dynamic, I can say, from experience.
Because I thought nothing changes. Because I was going to the birthdays, we were doing things together, we were one of the people. But then I learned that something changed, because a thing changed is like your connection changes, because you're the one who are responsible for them. You're the ones who is revising them, who's guiding them. So all of a sudden, you're not one of them anymore. That changed. But the other thing that happened is I got to really work on my healing. Is that when you are a manager, you have this budget.
Learning and development sort of budget,
so
right?
we had this 9 months of leadership training, and I was eating it. Wow, I said, oh, this is what happens. But that wasn't enough for me, because I still was busy with work. And then the other stuff happened is that I got to have this 6 months training of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming.
Yes.
So I didn't go to any psychiatrist or whatever, but that was my therapy for 6 months. I learned how to communicate, but the most important thing, how I communicated.
So really reflection moments in it.
How did I communicate with myself? And I thought, ooh. Okay, I'm not nice to people because I'm not nice to myself. I don't even like me. That was painful. Because that's the explanation how I was communicating to others.
It was painful and needed.
Really. So when I changed my communication to me, in loving me, caring me, and being positive in my communication, being creating in my communication, I became so much softer in communicating with other people. I didn't have to fight anymore because I was fighting with me. I couldn't accept me as a human being. I couldn't accept me as a boy, as a man. So the reflection that I had in me, I found in the world. So that's the explanation, like transgendered and being woman and stuff like that. The thing we don't learn is when we don't accept ourselves fully in being male, female, because everybody has male and female in them, you are rejecting yourself for 50% and maybe for 100%. And that rejection reflects into the world. I got to embrace myself, and strongly, if we talk about family constellation, I was rejecting my father because my image of a father was abusive, was not belonging, was dying.
Did you forgive him?
Yes, but that took a long time.
Yes.
And that's also with family constellation, because they said everybody has been born from source with love. I said, how can someone that wants to kill your mother and all the things I had to become in life and overcome in life, how could I have been created out of love? How? It took me 7 family constellation sessions to understand that it wasn't about my father, but it was that we came from source that is pure love. And who do we come from and into this earth? They are nearly the source that we come from. And then it hit me. Okay, then I am love. And then I was looking for love into this world. So I always tell people that what you are seeking into this world, you have to become. I became love because my practice was love. And I couldn't accept the man in me. Literally, my body was really rejecting
it.
Body parts.
Literally.
It was rejecting my penis, really. It became small. It became smelly. And I thought, what is happening? What is happening? And I'm so hygienic, because if you know, like the orphanage houses stuff and the lights is like very hygienic, clean. And then I thought, okay, I had to embrace me. And so when I talk to people who are transgendered, who are feeling different into this world, I always tell them, start with you. Start embracing you. Start embracing your family system. Even when they reject you, they cannot take away the system out of you, because you are born into that system. They cannot take that away from you. Even when you're not part of their ceremonies, even if you're not part of whatever, but in energy, in places, you are one of them. You cannot even remove yourself from that system. So you have to embrace that system. You don't have to talk to them, but you have to take your place in that system. That journey for me was very painful and healing, and I cried like rivers, oceans I've cried. Years of healing, tears, because I didn't cry for 20, 30 years.
You couldn't?
No.
No.
I was closed. So I get to heal the abuse. I got to heal the sexual abuse, literally by NLP, but also with family constellation. And it took me 5 years. Really 5 years. And there were different layers, because this is the question you had, like, where are you with your healing?
Yes.
The healing has different layers. And it's not that when you see the same trauma and you're getting triggered and you're back at the same point. No. You are being reminded of your growth. You're being reminded of how far you have come. And you're being reminded that there is a different layer, a different depth in your soul being opened to become wiser, to learn more about yourself, to fall in love more in you. So, the other thing I got to experience also is the love of a twin flame. There's literally one soul split it into this life. And I saw this man, and like literally my body exploded from inside. And I thought, oh, it's him. Because I was looking for love, a partner. And it was very intense for a year, because he already saw like, okay, this is not good. But I thank him so much that he got to talk with me. He got to sit with me. He never abuses anything of me, but he got to give me love. And what happened is that he was the reflection of the male part of me.
Oh, wow.
Literally into this earth. And I was having these sessions also with Family Constellation because I got through with all the trainings, like the beginning, the second one, and then I became
no half work with you.
No,
no
I did
work.
no, but you
did,
have to.
I
did
but
everything.
You have to. You have, but you have to. No, it's that's too for me. That's too easy. So you have to. Nobody forces you to do that. It's also who part of you who you are is when you start something.
Yeah.
And it hit something.
Yeah.
You don't shy, you don't hide away.
No.
You go all the way in deep.
Yeah.
And through all different stages and all the pain, you do the work.
Yeah, and
face it.
Yeah. And the thing is...
so it's a compliment.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I received that. And the thing is with Family Constellation, I knew in the moment when I saw it, I thought, oh, wow. This is something very powerful. And this is something I really, really hope that everybody gets to experience for themselves. Because I, for the first time, could experience who I am, where I come from. I got to see how complicated it was in my family tree and all the dynamics that was happening that was very unhealthy. I also got to experience past generations. And I thought, wow, am I so powerful? Wow. And I wanted to be this Western woman. I wanted to be this image of someone. No, I am Dutch.
Yes.
But I'm also Indian and I'm also Surinamese.
And you are you.
I am me. And I am this infinite being, this cosmic child, as we say. So that moment, like, oh my God, I get to experience all these things. And I thought, yeah, I did all the way the healing. But it never ends because you always have different layers in yourself. And with this man, I got to experience how it is to fall in love in yourself again because he was literally the image of me. I had to fall in love with the man in me. That moment. And when that hit, I thought, oh my God, you're my brother. So the love of wanting to have a partner, it went away.
Yeah.
But he was a reflection of me inside. So I got to love me more. And I got to embrace the man in me to become the woman who I am.
Wow.
And then everything changes in my life. Everything.
I can and I can't imagine, but it's a lot. It's a beautiful. I'm so happy that you are willing to share this. And I think it's only the beginning of more conversations to have, either recorded and non-recorded. That we will see. But there's so much. There are so much
a lot of
layers and flavors and but since we are heading towards the end of this conversation for now, I have one question also for the listener: is if there's someone listening and feels lost, unsafe, or unloved, what would you want them to hear from you right now?
That's a beautiful question. It's also layered.
Of course, the answer will be layered again.
Okay, for you who are listening and you need this Trishanka moment, there are moments that you're feeling alone. There are moments that you're feeling unloved. There are moments that you are feeling unwanted. Know this, that within you, you are safe. Within you, you find love. And within you, you belong. When you find a moment out there, when you're safe, reach out. And do not reach out to people who cannot hold your story or who cannot hold space to you. Find those people who are really resonating with your heart and then share your story so they can hold you, they can embrace you, they can hug you, and where you can finally cry find community, because that is really, and know that you belong, you are worth it to be alive, because you, and maybe at this point you don't even imagine that, but you are the medicine this world needs. But you have to cure yourself first. Love yourself first. And really, really feel the love from within. Because prayers do work. Prayers do work.
Trishanka, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for this open conversation. And thank you very much for you being you.
Thank you for inviting me, for having this conversation. And oh my God, this is a different angle. Like, this is so much deepness in this conversation. It's so wow. And it's not even finished.
No, it's a starting point. Be aware, listener. It's just a starting point. That's the beauty of our conversation, right?
Yeah.
Is that we really can laugh and feel free in the laughing, while on the other hand having this depth of conversation about all the horrible things also you went through.
Yeah.
So, and I really have deep respect for you. So thank you for being you and for being here.
Thank you.